Daniel Casanas, and I'm really pleased to be your moderator this evening. I have an absolutely fantastic lineup of panelists here for you. These folks are successful in their own right as founders, entrepreneurs, managers. These folks are really pushing the borders of what's happening in the world. They are true catalysts for forward progress. And it's really not an exaggeration to say that these folks have changed the world and they will continue to change the world in the future. So speaking with you today is Tricia, Rick, Jed, and Michaela. They're going to introduce themselves in just a second. But they're going to be speaking about making opportunities borderless today. So go for it, Tricia. Or Michaela, sorry.
Me? Tricia? Yeah, so my name is Michaela Juric, but you can call me MJ. I have been in the Bitcoin crypto blockchain industry since 2013, so 10 years this year. Waiting for my Rolex from Satoshi, still hasn't come in the mail. I head up the head of blockchain department with Novatti, an ASX-listed company in Australia. We are the issuers of AUDD, which is an Australian dollar stablecoin. We launched on the Stellar blockchain November 1st of last year.
Great. I'm Rick. I'm one of the co-founders of Decaf, and we're a non-custodial wallet that really focuses on remittances and payments.
Hey everybody, last panel. All right, let's get excited. I'm Tricia Martinez. I'm a managing director at TechStars, where we run the Stellar MoneyGram Payments Accelerator. So basically, TechStars is the largest early stage investor in the world. We write a lot of checks to pre-seed tech companies. We launched an accelerator focused on blockchain and investing in companies that are addressing problems throughout Latin America and other underserved markets. I actually am now an investor, but before this was a founder. I built one of the first companies on Stellar, actually, built and scaled a blockchain company across sub-Saharan Africa for about 10 years, and have a lot of interesting stories to share with you another time.
Great. I'm Jed McCaleb, co-founder of Stellar. It's a blockchain. Yeah.
All right, so first question, making opportunity borderless. It's an immense topic, but for entrepreneurs so they can service local problems, what are the ultimate rewards and who benefits? Why do all this, in your opinion? What really matters?
Do you want me to-
Here you go first.
I don't think opportunity there's equal access to opportunity. I don't think that exists. And I think we had a bit of a discussion yesterday. One of the things that I'll keep it to a very micro level is really important to sort of see is when we build solutions for people who need these opportunities, especially financially. So, for example, I don't think Laura's in the crowd. She works in our team, but she's from Colombia. She uses the MoneyGram access that we all talk about here. It's the best solution for her. She uses it around Spain, and she's here right now actually doing trades in Colombia and over blockchain right now because that's what the clients need. But someone like her, I think, these type of solutions that we build are just completely life-changing and game-changing for her and her community. And I think that's just an example of how tools that we have here can really give an equal playing field or access to really great opportunities.
So I'll speak from the context of fintech because that's what I invest a lot in and what I built in. Half of the world is underbanked still. Like we live in 2023, right? It's 2023, and half of the world still operates outside of the formal financial system. Technologies like blockchain have the ability to uplift people, have the ability to create new solutions for businesses, for consumers, but we need more opportunities for entrepreneurs to build on top of that. And so blockchain and other technologies are basically opening the gates to all this innovation, all this potential to solve problems that are impacting the vast majority of people around this world.
And it also gives an opportunity for more localized impact as well. We don't necessarily know about problems unless we are on the ground and trying to resolve them. In Australia, we are certainly more developed as a financial nation, but we do have our own hurdles. And as a nation, we're very regularly overlooked in terms of trying to adapt and connect with that economy, despite Australian dollars being the 6th most traded currency in the world. So without having something like a blockchain infrastructure, it's very difficult to connect with something that is relatively waterlocked in terms of trying to get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, payments is essentially another form of communication, and we saw kind of the impact of the internet on like traditional forms of communication, and one of its great benefits was like how it has like raised the boat all across the world, right? Like anywhere that can get internet access is suddenly kind of has is connected to the rest of the world, which is super empowering. But that hasn't happened with payments, and so. For when we started out with Stellar, we thought that is a super important thing, like to bring actual like payments and economy to the same level of connection as the internet has, right? So, yeah.
That's really insightful. I mean, there's 4 completely different answers aiming at the same target. It's amazing. So, Jed, I actually heard you insightfully remark once in an interview, quote, "By making the Stellar protocol better, you make the world better. Our goal at Stellar has always been to make something useful for people." Now, the useful for people bit really kind of got me. Could you expand on this and perhaps the other panelists respond?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like, I guess at my core, I like to build things, and I like to build things that other people can use. And so when we set out to make Stellar, that was our primary, like, motivating factor. Like, what thing can we, like, build in the world that people will actually use? Not that it's just a cool technology that will actually improve people's lives. And so if you can build something that people actually use day to day, then you know that you're actually like improving them and like actually adding value to their life, right? And so I think anytime you're like go about like a new venture or any kind of, I mean, this is focused on entrepreneurship. Like anytime you go about a new venture or deciding what to do, you should focus on that. You should focus on what will actually be useful for people, and that is the primary thing, rather than like what is kind of the cool technology or what has the most bells and whistles. It's like what will actually move the needle for folks on the ground. So yeah.
Any reactions to that?
Yeah, I would say what's exciting about what we've seen in the blockchain space, Stellar is a perfect example. This is infrastructure that Jed and his team had a vision for what could be. They didn't know all the specific use cases of what will actually happen. And companies like what I had built, Walla, saw the infrastructure that they built and said, hey, you are solving the exact problem that we're trying to solve. We need to enable consumers across the African continent to send very small micropayments to people. We cannot do it with any other blockchain because it's too expensive with gas. Stellar is by far the leader when it comes to micropayments. And so various use cases end up within infrastructure, end up driving even more innovation and unlocking more opportunities for entrepreneurs to build. Like the idea that we haven't even discovered all the potential for blockchain today, probably 90% of the opportunity, we don't even know what's out there yet. I think that's what's crazy and really exciting about it.
Yeah, and I think there's also the opportunity for real world utility as well. I think a lot of people, or at least there's some bigger companies out there that will just throw a blockchain into something that doesn't necessarily resolve a problem. It's more of a PR stint or move in that aspect. Working with blockchain technology, especially public permissionless technology, gives people the opportunity to innovate and grow beyond and provide something, like I said, that's real world useful and not something that's just going to pad out your news feed.
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep my answers like to a real micro level. I think we need to be super hyper focused on people and how they use these products and really understand how we're solving problems, because what we learn is when we see from the perspective or we build with those users, we learn more and we build better products. And so, for example, I'm going to give you, like Laura, when she got her money out at MoneyGram here, she had to ask or tell the agent that this was a new type of product because they'd never seen anyone use MoneyGram and have the same sender be the recipient. And that was something new, and she had to explain it to them. And this is a challenge, but this is something that we need to be so hyper-focused on in order to build good products and services. And the one thing I say is, I call this sort of notion of being really product or building with the customer co-design. And I think that's something that is so important, from taking these high-level, useful tools to an actual usable, really great service and product.
That's actually a great segue into the next question, because Tricia is unique on this panel. Tricia has actually built a company on Stellar called Walla, an African fintech company. And now she leads something called the TechStars Payments Powered by Stellar and MoneyGram program, of which we're in our second cohort. You've experienced Stellar both as a founder and now as a leader getting people to adopt Stellar. So what can you tell us about the differences between engaging and then also kind of recommending?
So when we built on Stellar, it was in the very early days, so there was a lot of trial and error. We were all trying to figure out what works. I don't think there were any Stellar grants at that point because we really would have used some extra cash to go build. The reason why we were so attracted to Stellar, beside the fact that it was more efficient, we could enable our users to move money instantly at no cost, but it was in large part the vision that Stellar had, that they wanted to service half of the global population, that there have been consumers and businesses that have been left out of the system, that they were never designed for these people, and we needed to design a new system for them. That really resonated with us. That was our mission. We saw the financial system as failing so many people around the world, and we wanted to build a new one. So from day one, I loved Stellar for that reason. And having the opportunity to work at TechStars and invest in companies who then can go build on Stellar was a no-brainer for me because I saw we could maximize impact even more. So today, the world has definitely changed in terms of how much more advanced Stellar has become, the resources, the opportunities and use cases. We actually have a portfolio company here, Mika in the audience, a prop tech company in Mexico City, growing really fast. Anyone interested in the space, go talk to him today. They're building on Stellar, escrow wallets, and other renting solutions. But a perfect example like that, there's just endless opportunity to build, and the partnership that we've launched, TechStars, MoneyGram, and Stellar, is now enabling us to be hyper-focused on a region and surround those founders with amazing resources that will enable them to build and scale and either fail really fast and go build again.
So you mentioned Latin America. What's resonating down there, right? You have folks on the ground reaching out, talking with local entrepreneurs. We had a flood of applications to the latest cohort. What's working? What should we do more of?
So someone asked me this question earlier. I spent a decade in sub-Saharan Africa building a company and fell in love with the continent. The entrepreneurship on the continent is indescribable, like the hunger, passion, drive, perseverance. But there's no infrastructure. It's the Wild West. It's really hard to build things, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to build because there's a lack of system in place. Latin America is very different. There are systems, but they are clunky and broken, and they're failing consumers and businesses. And so there's this point in time that Latin America is like ripe for innovation. There's so many wins and so much opportunity to come in and solve so many problems for consumers and businesses, which is what's so attractive for our partnership. But I'll say that the Latin American market desperately needs more VC funding. There's a very small percentage of angel investors. There's a very small population of venture capital funding. Most of the money we're seeing deployed is still San Francisco and New York. Like, we have these very polarized, focused areas within the venture world, and we need to think outside of that because there's endless opportunities in these new growing markets. And so the founders I've told many other investors, I've never been more impressed with founders that come out of Latin America, like truly brilliant, gritty people that are going to build the next unicorns. But they're struggling to find those resources. So what we need to do is find more rich people to start writing checks and keep throwing resources at them so they can solve problems.
So ironically, I don't know if you realize this or not, but you're sitting right next to a LATAM founder.
Yeah. We know.
Rick has founded Decaf in Mexico. You are now Mexico-based. You do not have a Mexican accent, though, right? So you relocated over. Can you tell us a bit about what you learned launching in Mexico and what's worked? What are the challenges? Have you overcome some challenges since you've launched?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can probably tell, I'm not Mexican. I'm Australian, like Michaela. But the reason I'm down there is because this is where the problem is, and it was evident. So I'll give you the initial story of how I even got into crypto and why I thought it mattered, or blockchain. I was living with Nikki, actually, who went to primary school with, and we had a housemate there. We just were spending time out of the US doing technology there, but the housemate we were with, he was delivering millions of dollars of cash to Venezuelans crossing the border, and he was buying them off in Bitcoin, and they needed this cash to live. And it was evident that people were using blockchain and crypto as banking and financial services because there was just terrible infrastructure there. And there's a million stories I can tell you from my time living in Colombia and getting trapped there for years during the pandemic and beyond, and saw that and continued in Mexico as well. Along the way, we started to go to hacker houses and build solutions in crypto, and all the hype was about NFTs and DeFi protocols. But we really wanted to solve some of the problems that we saw and lived in these places. And we started Decaf. And when we first pitched the idea, it seemed a little crazy in these hacker houses. It wasn't a DeFi protocol or a new NFT collection. It was something different. And now it's starting to make a lot more sense, because I think the narrative is starting to change to, well, solve for utility. But it really came from a fact of just seeing the problems that existed, seeing the tools that were available, and putting them together and creating new services and products for people.
Michaela, you had actually talked a little bit about something similar, right? Your history with blockchain and seeing problems, jumping in really early. Can you comment?
Yeah, so I started my first Bitcoin brokerage firm in 2014, so very early on. It was probably a few months after that that I got a letter from my bank that said, we are shutting down your bank account. They didn't tell me why. They just gave me 14 days notice to find new arrangements. So I went to the next bank, opened up a new bank account, and within a few months, same thing happened. So we cycle through that, we get to about 2021. For perspective, we have 148 registered banks in Australia. I've been lifetime banned from 98 of them.
Did you say 98?
98. I've said that if I get 2 more, I'm going to put a submission into the Guinness World Records so I can get a trophy for 100.
You heard it here, guys.
So, I mean, in terms of, when we hear about talking about underbanked, in, I guess, nations, even in a more developed country like Australia, we have, underbanked and debanked industries. That includes, digital currency exchanges, money services businesses, people that deal with remittance, high-risk vendors or high-risk merchants all suffer this problem. I've spoken about it quite regularly in media. I've even gone as far as providing testimony at the Australian Senate into the issue. And what I found through that whole journey was that, yeah, cool, your 20 minutes of fame in the local newspaper is fantastic, but no one was actually doing anything about it. And so for me, it was like, well, if I'm going to invoke change, if change needs to happen in this area, I need to do it myself. And if anyone here has a wife or is a wife, you'll know the saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And so I started a stablecoin in conjunction with Novatti to essentially wipe out the existence of banks.
Well, that is an ambitious goal.
Look.
Can you go into slightly more detail on the relationship between Novatti and Stellar and AUDD?
Yeah, absolutely. So Novatti actually engaged with Stellar a few years ago, actually, probably 2017, 2018, which is around the time that IBM WorldWire were having a play around. Novatti did a proof of concept then in terms of development, but it never sort of went to that next level. Obviously, there were some issues there around regulation and really trying to find use cases and really how to deploy it in the real world. So they shelved the idea for a little while. 2021 rolls around, like I said, so I did my Senate hearing. The debanking situation wasn't getting any easier. I rang my now boss, Effie, and said, I've had enough. I'm just going to quit my job and become a checkout chick at the local supermarket. And she said, no, you're better than that. Here's, this potential idea for a stable coin. How do we make it work? And so within probably 2 days, I had a pitch deck to the board that essentially said, here's how we solve debanking in this industry with a stable coin. And so obviously from there, we re-engaged with Stellar. Well, obviously you guys like the idea because I'm here. And we launched and here we are.
Look, good luck to you in trying to overhaul all banking.
Oh, look, it's a long journey. Rome wasn't built in a day, so, and I'm still young, so the bankers aren't. They've got probably a few years.
It's early.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main topic of this conversation is about empowering entrepreneurs, obviously. once a blockchain solution succeeds in empowering that entrepreneur locally, in your view, what's the best method to help them scale that business, leveraging blockchain technology? Good.
I mean, the whole premise of Stellar specifically is this interoperability layer between different enterprises and wallets. So one of the problems from before is that you're really held back by network effects. Like there's PayPal, but money is only as useful as the number of people you can use it to pay with, right? So so PayPal is useful because lots of other people have and accept PayPal, right? But if you're a new entrant into this field, then you don't have a network, right? But instead, if you have a system such as Stellar, then any new entrant into the field can connect to all the other entrants in the field, right? All the other people that are in the same ecosystem, right? And so this kind of allows you to get to scale much, much quicker and just lowers the barrier for entry because getting to scale is one of the biggest problems, especially for payment type enterprises, right? So for us, I think that one of the things that I really like about Stellar is that it just enables people to get started much, much quicker. And this is just starting to be true now because there's things like MoneyGram and these fiat on and off ramps. And so new entrants can just utilize these rather than try to build them themselves, right? So, yeah.
I think this is a really good question because, we've seen great use cases in individual markets. It's really, really, really freaking hard to scale something across border, right? And everything about blockchain is there are no borders. But when you operate in a geography and there are regulations and there are systems and there are different cultures and languages and consumers have different behaviors and habits, that's a whole different ballgame and thinking about how you scale your product. It's more about customer. It's more about who is your customer, what do they want, what do they need. Is my solution in Argentina going to be the same as in Mexico? Probably not. And why is it different? And so from an investor perspective, if you test something in a community and it's growing really fast, awesome, I want to see you replicate that in 2 more similar communities. What did you learn? What's the data you're collecting? Why is it working? Why is it not? All those things come into play as you're looking at scale, and scale is really, really hard, especially for financial products or whatever context we're talking about, because it's trust, and consumers have different forms of trust in different geographies. So there's no easy answer, right? There's a reason why we don't have these killer blockchain solutions operating globally right now. It's really effing hard. And so the best way we can support them is through, I would say, early stage programs like our accelerator, where we are surrounding you with resources, but we need more interoperability. We need more players within the ecosystem supporting one another and creating an ecosystem.
So
Are you scaling Decaf globally, right? Are you staying in Mexico?
we are, and I think the question is, how do we do it? And I think the answer lies in partnerships. And I say to other blockchains and other banks and partners, how do you scale this? And I go, well, I think the model of MoneyGram partnering with Stellar is the best model in all of Web3 of how to do partnership with existing institutions that have these reach and distribution, and how they can partner and work with someone like Stellar. So for example, the end result is we can use a Circle USDC and we can cash out that in 184 countries just because there's a partnership that exists and it works as a really great model. And it really changes people's mind when we talk to other type of potential partners and banks when they see it's been done. And I think this is really starting to move the needle. But because of that distribution that these big institutions have, I think more of these type of partnerships need to happen. That's how we scale this in my mind. That is unequivocally the best solution. And so props to MoneyGram doing this. And I still think there's lots of things that need to be learned and grown from it. But let's get those type of models and work more on interoperability with other types of partnerships across an ecosystem, and let's bring this to the masses.
I agree with that, because I would normally say I would call bullshit on most of these partnerships. A lot of it's PR, and it's you're not going to fucking do anything, big deal. But and I had skepticism looking from the outside before I started working in this role with you guys. I was like, what are they gonna actually do? Is this PR? But I'll be honest, you guys, it's real. It's really impressive what they're doing. The amount of work MoneyGram and Stellar do together, the constant internal innovation, new products, working through how we can support startups better, what systems we can build. Like it's really impressive. It's been a pleasure and an honor being able to work with you guys because you are moving the needle, and I agree with you. We need more partnerships like this.
Yeah, and if they weren't, actually, if I didn't genuinely believe that, I would say that. And I'll give you an example of who's making big announcements of a partnership, and I generally think is nothing at all. Visa and MasterCard right now. And I think that their model of partnership is not working. It's just all show. This partnership with, Stellar and, MoneyGram is real, and it really has users.
Yeah, a prime example of that. We have an app in Australia. I won't give the name. I don't want to throw them under the bus because local and stuff. They have a MasterCard that's attached to the app. It lets the user register. They put their USDC on it, and then from there they can spend their USDC in local shops around Australia. So they tap and pay. They buy their coffee, whatever, fantastic. What happens in the background is that, the USDC gets liquidated, it gets converted into Australian dollars, and then gets fed onto the card. Well, obviously, traveling around as I do, I was like, fantastic, I'll get this app. I'll put USDC on it because I'm going to be spending in US dollars. What happens in the background when I, tap for my coffee? USDC gets liquidated into Australian dollars, and then MasterCard converts the Australian dollars to US dollars. It sounds, well, that's very counterintuitive. Wouldn't it just be easier just to go from USDC to USD? I questioned MasterCard about this, and they were like, oh no, that's not how it works. You can't do that. You have to go. And I'm like, well, then what purpose are you actually serving here? Because it seems like nothing. And they just sort of said, well, we need to upgrade our rails and, and do a whole bunch of stuff. I said, no, what you need, that upgrade, and, as soon as they do that, it makes MasterCard irrelevant. And their whole money-making scheme on, tacking on to that FX piece goes out the window, and they're out of business in 25 minutes. So...
Got it. So the takeaway then is kudos to Danelle and the partnerships team on bridging that gap with MoneyGram and the
Absolutely.
MoneyGram team. And there are other companies that could do better.
Yeah,
basically.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We welcome them to do better. We don't want to trash on them. We
Yeah.
just think, let's get to that next level of partnership.
And also USDC isn't the be-all end-all. I can't spend, that whole use case of, USDC, I have to convert it to AUD. It goes to show that I can't really buy my USDC with coffee. It still needs to go to Australian dollars. And I think one of the other things to also commend Stellar Development Foundation on is their recognition of non-USD stablecoins and building up that infrastructure to ensure that every denomination is recognized and that US dollars aren't just, the pinnacle of currency.
So given that we have 1 minute left, if you could, answer this in just a few words. First things that come to mind. As we look to the future, what strategies or initiatives would you recommend to really keep the momentum going?
We just need to keep adding partners to the network, and everyone that's involved in the ecosystem needs to do their part to bring other players on, because each additional person on the network just makes it that much more, it makes it that much better for everyone else. So.
I'll make a pitch. We need more TechStars. So MoneyGram Stellar, let's launch more to help more founders.
Shameless pitch. Shameless plug.
I'll double down on what Jed said. We need more partners, and let's use what we have, take the learnings, and keep building on it.
Yeah, okay. I'll sort of tag onto that and say collaboration. No one really gets anywhere if we're working in our own silos. So I think in order to really grow the ecosystem, collaboration is key. And it also opens you up to new jurisdictions if you're dealing with somebody locally. A lot of people don't realize, how underserved the Australian market is, and they generally don't know until they talk to an Australian. Surprise, surprise. Collaboration, getting it across.
Thank you to our panelists.